We're here at MDI High School as part of our Meet the MDI Teacher, and with me is Dan Stillman from the art department. And I'm in foreign land. I will tell you that right now.
Me too.
As when I come into art, all I remember from high school is making linoleum little prints. And my poor art teacher, Adrian Poole, I think I drove him. I have no artistic ability whatsoever.
I don't buy it, but
well,
okay.
I will tell you that it is. So tell us a little bit. I mean, this is an amazing room. We're here with all sorts of murals and from metalwork to mobiles to everything. All sorts of paints going on here, and tell us a little bit about you and what you do here.
Well, I suppose first and foremost, I am a graduate of MDI. This is my school, this is my home, and I love this space even before I started teaching here. So, which
is amazing, because as we were talking a little bit before we started taping this, so many teachers have returned to their alma mater.
Yep, it was actually a bit of a plan I had made with my high school buddy that someday we'd go to college, we'd be roommates, we would become teachers, and then wouldn't it be cool if we could come back and teach here? And you know, in some ways we may have been setting our sights low, but once I was actually a teacher in Bangor, and this position opened up very early on. It was only it was during my second year of teaching that this position opened up. My art teacher was retiring, and it seemed too soon for the dream job. And the dream, whether or not it could be a reality, I didn't know what it meant. I did not feel qualified in any way to take on my alma mater. And so I applied, I got the position, and it's been 28 years of having fun and getting paid to do it.
It looks like a lot of fun. I mean, this room is living and breathing art.
It is, and the hallways are, and this is only a third of this part of the building. This art room is repeated across the hall, and there's a third over there dedicated to ceramics. And Charlie's got his Liz Keenan with us. She's 2 kilns strobing back and forth.
Wow.
All ceramics, all the time, and then we have Charlie doing video and digital, you know, the media arts with Jeff Zaman, and photography, and there's a lot going on. We have windows just to make sure everyone's safely, staying on task and getting it done. And we're given free flow throughout the building too. We can hang our stuff anywhere. Sort of, the walls have been given to us, which is a responsibility. But we self-censor and we negotiate it. The more risque or provocative pieces tend to live closer to or in the art wing or in the art room, and we get a lot of support and tolerance when necessary, and we have the gallery as well.
So I mean, art is all-encompassing. What kind of art do you do here at MDI High School? What do you teach?
Currently, over the years, it has morphed. There was a time I was the traditional, what most art teachers find themselves being is a generalist, and they have to teach all of the arts. And when you get certified, it's sort of expected that you can bounce from one media to the other. They're all part of your certification. So I was a Art 1, Art 2, Art 3, Art 4, a beginner, intermediate. And it tended to be drawing and painting and dabbling in the paper sculpture pieces. I also was involved with theater, so art students would morph into large-scale paintings and set design after school. And I had a crafts class would be stained glass and maybe a little bit of jewelry, metalsmithing, and ceramics, big time. And that sort of grew, and then we had a half-time teacher take on ceramics. And that continued to grow until there were 2 full-time teachers. So I stuck with that mainstream Art 1, Art 2, Art 3, Art 4. And then there was Anna Nash, bless her, a home ec teacher with an interest in computers and art and design. So she did clothing and cooking, traditional home ec classes. But she got certified to teach art without anyone's permission, mind you.
But that's what you art people do, is you're kind of free spirit.
Yes, we are. And she got a grant, and all of a sudden the home ec room was the one and only computer lab. So the computer lab was owned by a home ec teacher with a passion for art. So her students were using the computers for art and design. So she became an art teacher when they built about 15 years ago, when they decided to make the building respond to the population. We had a school built for 400 kids, 500 kids, and we were up to 7.
Yeah.
That they expanded, and instead of expanding into traditional classrooms, they expanded into an arts wing. Thank you, Nat Fenton, for that foresight. And so Anna Nash went from home ec to being another art teacher-ish person, and then we had 3 full-time folks teaching art. So media arts became an art part of our bailiwick.
What's the best part about teaching here at MDI High School?
I think my experience might be a little different than many others because I'm teaching in the school I grew up in.
Yeah.
I'm teaching in the building that gave me my self-esteem. I'm teaching the babies of my classmates.
Yeah.
I have the grandchildren of my classmates.
Which is scary.
I have 2nd and 3rd generation students, mostly 2nd generation students, students who say, oh, my mom or my dad had you as a teacher. But all these faces are so familiar because if I didn't teach their parent, I went to school with their parents. So I feel like there's a big family here. If I had a nickel for every time I say, you're so-and-so's sons, daughters, boyfriends, we're family. Oh my gosh. I have these connections above and beyond what's your name, and I'm Mr. Stillman, which I'm Dan. So for me, it's this village that just keeps turning over these awesome kids with the same old awesomeness and troubles and growing pains. And I feel like the community that helped me raise my 2 kids, we're just going to keep doing this stuff.
How old are your children?
I have a soon-to-be 22-year-old daughter and a 20-year-old son.
Okay, what do they do?
Both of them are attending school. My son is in Eastern Maine Community College studying business and loving it. And my daughter is at University of Maine considering becoming a middle school science teacher, despite all her experiences.
Well, and that's, it's interesting because my older son was considering becoming becoming a teacher. Just, with my wife teaching. And then as he got into his final years in Southwest Minnesota State, he said, no, this is not for me. I don't want to do this. And is now becoming a lawyer. So you go figure.
There you go.
And and there's some parallels at times.
Oh yeah, we need those lawyer skills. Exactly. It's just the paycheck's a little different. But a summer to reinvent yourself, let's be clear.
So I guess, where your mentor invited you, do you have, granted, you're nowhere near retirement age.
Yeah, I have a few.
We all like to think we're getting there, but, wouldn't it be cool if, you're able to reach out to someone and say, hey, listen, you were here, you're going to make a great art teacher, and really have that 3rd generation art
Yeah.
teacher?
Well, I'm looking at about 10 more years for Maine State retirement.
Yeah.
And so these freshmen coming in, I've already started to plant the seed that 4 years of college and 4 years of high school, that's 8 years. Keep your eye open. Keep your eye open. There are a lot of amazing, amazing people who've gone through this school that I have. If I name drop, I don't talk about the famous people that visit the island. It's the incredible, talented people, 10 times smarter than I am, that I've had the honor to kind of know when they were young and kind of make a connection, and then they just go and do incredible, amazing stuff. So there are lots of folks who have pursued arts as a vocation, as a just recreation, or become a teacher. So this is a very desirable place.
Yeah. I mean, the beauty of art, and again, I can't speak from experience, but I mean, it's one of those lifelong passions. So that, I mean, if you learn to paint and like to paint, it's something that you can continue doing throughout your life.
Right. You know, you said you can't draw or paint, and
all I will tell you is that I remember. I went to an English. I grew up in Bermuda. Mm-hmm. I went to an English school where, and it was a much different time than it is now. But I remember trying to draw the continent of Africa, and for geography, and the assistant headmaster called me up in front of the class and he said, "Popper, this is a pregnant sausage. This is not Africa."
There you go.
And you know, I don't want to draw. I don't want to do anything. I can't draw. Now, I mean, I could make it in my mind. I know what it's supposed to look like, and it's not a pregnant sausage. But when I draw it, it looks like a pregnant sausage.
Well, you know, you have to kind of get out of what it is. We spend a lot of time trying to tap into the simpler side that isn't so analytical about what it is and what it's supposed to be. And, you know, how many fingers do you draw when you know you have 5 fingers? Well, you draw as many fingers as you can see. Right. And if you can say a pregnant sausage and that conjures up that shape and that curve, then it works. Yeah.
One of the best songs I ever heard was Harry Chapin with "Red Leaves Are Red." I don't know if you know. Well, I'll
sing
say, no, that's something else I can't really do. Okay. But I mean, and it's about an art teacher and a child who drew leaves in every color that there was. And the teacher said, "No, leaves are red, leaves are green." And you know, I guess that's one of the things.
That's kind of depressing.
Yeah, but it's, as an art teacher, you're really trying to nourish people's potential and creativity.
Yes. What we would say is paint your leaves the colors you'd like your leaves to be, and then explain why you picked those colors and why those colors work for you, and what are they saying about the tree, and what are they saying about your intent with that tree. So the colors can be whatever you'd like to do. So I don't prescribe to that. I would say use color as an active element in your art. You pick the color and then speak to it in your artist statement, and that can be done at all grades.
What do you like to do when you're not teaching? What do you do in the summer? What do you do when?
Well,
and I think we've got people making fun of you.
Yeah, we've had a
few
people. Thank you for acknowledging that. I've been working really hard. By the way, it's Charlie Johnson, my neighbor over there, and my art superhero. Okay. When I'm not teaching art, I am sailing. That's the plan. I've grown up on an island with boating, but didn't really have access to boats. And I was a power boater for years. And then this gentleman, West Shaw, gifted me this little boat, this little sailboat, 2 years ago. And it was one of the answers to who am I and what do I do now that my kids are in college and they don't need me to get them to and from school and all that. And sailing has really caught me by surprise. And so all these kids who are on the sailing team, all these classmates of mine who've always sailed, I have a whole new appreciation for that skill and that passion. And so I can't wait. It's next to my house. It's under a tarp. Can't wait to hit the water and be out there looking back on this island. So boating is a big thing. My hobby for years has been building my home.
Okay.
I built a home.
You built your home?
I built two, actually.
Wow.
During the summer, years ago, my first life, I built a house in Sullivan.
Okay.
And then we had children, and then that life didn't work out, and I moved back to the island. I was teaching here, and built a house on Mount Desert Island. And so my kids were very proud to call this their hometown. So I've been building houses a lot. My house is done, and so now I play on my boat.
What kind of boat do you have?
Oh, it's a little Bristol 22-foot, just teeny. But when you're built like me, a little boat is a big boat.
Yep.
And I like to sculpt on the side. I get my dose annually at Haystack, a weekend teacher artist retreat. It's very short, but I crank out. I stay up to all hours, and I can get 2 weekends in one if I don't sleep.
What kind of sculpting do you do?
Well, the blacksmith shop, the hot shop, with all the metalworking is probably where I am the youngest and happiest. The wood shop I love. I'm much more 3D, hands-on. I like big and gaumy. I'm not really good at precise and small. I'm not a meticulous worker. I like it to be big and trip over it.
Where did you go to college?
I went to University of Maine in Orono, right up the road.
Yeah.
I left a house full of brothers and sisters and a family that I loved, an island that I didn't need to abandon necessarily. And then when my friends at University of Maine heard where I lived, the road trips weren't going to Boston and New York and all those cool, exciting places. They all wanted me to bring them back home to Acadia National Park and our backyard. So all signs kept pointing me back here. So a lifer by choice, I tell my students. This is a great place to grow up and raise kids.
It's funny how I guess you don't appreciate it until you kind of leave.
Right.
You know, I talk to the students and, we're leaving the island. We're not, and I've lived on islands 3 times in my life. I lived in Key Biscayne, Florida, and became rock happy. I never wanted to leave the island.
Rock and roll happy?
No, it was rock happy. It was you don't want to leave the causeway and.
Gotcha.
All right, so I wanted to stay on the island. From there, I went to Bermuda, and went to all of high school in Bermuda, and that was a unique experience growing up in Bermuda, and then I guess after going to college, a couple of years later, I went down and managed a hotel on Block Island, Rhode Island. And that was...
Rhode Island?
Rhode Island, yeah. And that was amazing because the only way you could get to the island was to take a ferry or take a plane.
Right.
And it made me appreciate the island even more. And then I came up to Bangor and never came down to Bar Harbor for the first 12 years.
Really?
You know, I had been around the water, I was running hotels, and then I started selling radio and came down here and it was like, oh my God, I've missed it. And so when you get those second and third chances to kind of go back and be around the water and be in this smaller type community, you've got to take them.
Yeah. Well, when I was in 6th grade, my family lived in Bangor, and was very happy. I've been fortunate to sort of be naively happy everywhere I lived.
Yeah.
It was the best place. And 6th grade, my father got a job. He was attending the seminary in Bangor and got a ministerial, a church in Solonsville. So halfway through my 6th grade year, I was uprooted from OK Park, housing development, blocks of kids my age, lots of activity after school and pickup games, and just excitement and social, to move to this obscure little island, and it had happened to be in Solonsville. And when I saw it, I was mortified. It was just trees and a little road and a little town and no neighbors, or very few. And I resented, why are you tearing me away from my home?
Yeah.
And flash forward, I'm plugged into Northeast Harbor, Mount Desert Elementary School, and I've got my little backpack, and I leave school, and I go down to the pier, and I get on a little Mercury sailboat, and we're getting sailing lessons. And I thought, if my friends in Bangor could see what I'm doing, and all of a sudden a little light went on. Oh, so this is this little backwards island life, and so it's a good place to, as I said, to grow up. I'm still working on it. Maybe I'll leave this island when I finally grow up or outgrow it.
I don't think you will. It's hard to leave when you're comfortable where you are.
Grew up to 6th grade in Bangor, and yet this is my hometown.
Yeah. What's the one thing that nobody knows about you that you're ready to confess?
I heard that you asked those questions. I've seen you ask those questions.
See, it's easier for the people later on in the interview.
rattled off lists, and my lovely girlfriend was saying, don't say that, don't say that, don't say that. The funny thing is, my students, my fellow faculty, administration, friends, family on this island know I have few secrets.
Okay.
I am an open book. I overshare. So there aren't a lot of things I could say to surprise people. I suppose the negative one that I was coached out of saying, so I'm going to say it now, is people assume,
we're not responsible for this.
It's not a big deal. But people assume that I really love the art world. And I don't know a lot about the art world.
Okay.
I am very provincial. I have not visited all those. I have not been to Europe and visited the pictures and books, right? They're pictures and books to me. I can't rattle off masters. I know a handful of some. I use them, but I can research like a maniac. I love books. I love the internet for making connections on what we did and what people used to do. But I don't buy art. I don't collect art. I make my own. Ultimately, what I love is young artists. And I think art is a way to work with young people and help raise them. And if it wasn't art, it could be English, it could be science, it could be math. I picked art because it really connected with me. So I'm not as much of an art advocate as I am a kid advocate, and if it wasn't art around me, it could be like cool math projects, and I don't know. I just love working with our babies. But the practical one, so I won't break that one up. The practical one is I used to be a fireman for 9 years when I was in Sullivan. And I think back on that when I was making that life up there. It was a way to be. I'm a bit of a pyromaniac, and most of them are. And so I was a volunteer fireman for
That's hard work.
9 years. It was. And being a little guy, I figured all the big guys would do the heavy work, which was true. But I would be the one who would get stuffed in the attic or stuffed into the small areas, and they'd grab my oversized jacket and haul me back. So that was sort of an adventurous side of me before I built a home here.
I was on the volunteer fire department in Block Island.
Really?
And I drove the ambulance, and I put out a couple fires. And I remember putting out this big fire, and I mean, it was not enough year-round people so that everybody was involved. And I remember we tried to play softball that night after carrying one of those huge hoses, and none of us could raise our hands, our arms,
And the adrenaline wears off.
above our shoulders. I think we called the game because nobody could swing the bat.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but that's really the lifeblood of communities is volunteers.
Volunteerism, civic responsibility. I also had the record for the Sullivan Fire Department. Now, I haven't been there for 12 years or so, 15. So I'm sure someone's broken my record, but to wear the SCBA breathing apparatus to enter a building, you had to take a test. You had to put it on in a time limit, and so it became a competition. And I found out if I used a rap song that I wrote, a mnemonic, and I don't remember it, but there was a rap mnemonic that I could remember quickly. I could anticipate every move and slip it on, push it on, and test the valves and all, and I was good to go. And I did have the record. Now, I'm not sure that helps me fight fire, but it made me slightly bigger in that group of big guys.
All right, you've got the camera. What do you want to tell anybody and everyone who's watching this?
Make stuff, and don't judge it when it doesn't turn out right, just like your kids. Because you just chase them and support them and have them be the best thing they can be.
Perfect. That's this week, Meet the MDI Teacher with Dan Stillman. I hope you've enjoyed this, and watch all the other videos that we have on the WDEA YouTube channel. Thanks.
You're welcome.